Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to play Muses of a Madman. This is another Gravity Falls fan game made the exact same day as, uploaded the exact same day as the other fan game we just played. Mystery of Love. And I saw this again, I'm like, that looks like 4. Click, and yeah, it's a Gravity Falls fan game. So let's begin. Do you want to do a personality quiz to figure out your zodiac, or just pick one? Personality quiz. Alright, here we go. What do you wish to know the most? The unknown. Something new. The future. I don't know. The future and the unknown are the same, right? Like, all of these are technically the same. The unknown. What eludes you? Peace, happiness, commitment, comfort. Commit. Where are you at? Where are you the most at peace? The forest, the library, home, anywhere. The library. What season calls to you? Spring, summer, fall, winter. For me, winter is everyone else's spring. Okay, I only have winter and summer technically where I live. Winter. Pick an animal. Platypus. Raven. I'm just gonna go with Mudkip because that's what Mudkip is. Saber-tooth tiger. Saber-tooth tiger is a cat, so... But Mudkip. Mudkip. Interesting. Welcome to Gravity Falls. Question mark. Porog. Stanford Prynes was without a doubt absolutely insane, but having just graduated with bachelor's in computer science by the skin of your teeth, you were exactly in a position to judge. You counted your lucky stars that he wasn't exactly calling references when he'd recruited you as assistant. And hey, it wasn't like he was paying anyways. He gave you a date. He gave you a date and location, and that was that. The thought had crossed your mind that maybe this was too good to be true. Free food and housing in exchange for what sounded like a minimum amount of work with a decent hours. You might have trusted it, if not for the assuredness of your uncle, Fiddleford. Okay, we're related to Fiddleford. He's the smartest damn man. He's the smartest damn man I've ever met. Just a tad bit eccentric. Don't worry. He ain't gonna bite you. Well, nothing. He said that, he said, and you believed him. Heck, what choice did you have? Stanford seemed equally unenthused about the whole affair. Fiddleford and him were old friends, after all, and you were just a stranger. But your uncle and his wife had a new baby to take care of. Stanford was desperate. And so were you. In a short time you known him, you assessed three things about Stanford. 1. He was insane. He was insane. That bears repeating. He was brilliant, and he was in over his goddamn head because he was insane. Any man willing to trade your uncle's work for you, a total stranger with dubious abilities, must have been in some grave need. Probably because he's in over his head with Bill. You weren't interested in finding out out the crap he's gotten himself into. But stepping out of the bus onto the warm dirt road, he had a feeling that you wouldn't be able to avoid it for very long. Chapter 1. Enter your name. Lion. Pronouns. Okay, this is awesome. We want more. She, her. You pulled a small scrap of paper out of your pocket, detailing directions you've gone over the phone. Thankfully, you didn't have much luggage to carry, considering all your belongings fit into a duffel bag. I think my directions will be horrible. Okay, I'm gonna be Zoro and I end up someplace completely out of nowhere. Probably with the straw hats myself. Gravity Falls had a serene, eerie feel to it. From all the contradictory, all factors of its structure appear to be. The tree limbs sway softly in the wind, yet never in the correct direction. The wind sang an unsung sympathy that held no undertones of a birdsong. You had the feeling that the reality would shift under your lazy gaze, so what was there would be lost into further scrutiny. It was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone. Small, tight-knit, except for one Fred stuck out, untucked, Stanford Pines. Ironic that the man studying anomalies was one himself. I mean, that's the reason why he started studying anomalies, because of his fascination with it, for being born with 6 fingers. When you made a small pit stop in town to pick up a few things, definitely not to avoid meeting him, for as long as possible, you mentioned him in passing to the clerk. It proved fruitless. All that could be said was that he really liked coffee, which didn't tell you anything. Because everyone likes coffee, or tea. Okay, not everyone. You quickly grabbed the cheapest pouch you could find, scrolling through your wallet for the last bit of change. A gift? No. A peace offering of sorts. For coming in Ford's stead, much to Stanford's dismay. I do love the artwork right here. Not as cartoony as the other one, but I mean, it has its charm. Finally, after a long, unsettling, quiet hike to the cabin, you found yourself on the front porch. You take a deep breath, tuck your duffel bag behind your back, and raise a hand. He was there before you had the chance to knock, as if he's been waiting all day by the door, peering out of the people. You shudder at the thought. I do like the realistic design. I will say that. You're late. Nice to meet you, Ford, too. He didn't bother to hide the dismay in his voice. He didn't bother to hide the dismay in his voice. He was tall, imposing, giving the appearance of a giant silhouette against the white emitting from his home, casting a long shadow out of the door. The dark curls of his hair tug at the frames of his speckled face. The color was immediately lighter than his deeply settled eyebacks. His expression was still watery, yet his eyes seemed to hold barely restrained ripples, which revealed the true danger that lay beyond the musk of his irises. The rest of his appearance was less musky. The illusion flimsy held by his professional attire was quickly shattered by the sleeves of his jacket, which held multiple coffee stains in varying ages, messy hair, and a dark slacks that were severely wrinkled. The man's eyes then appeared to shift frantically from the side of your face to above it, but never looking at you directly. Okay, I love how it changes. Wait. Stepping aside from the door frame, he ushered you inside. With a gesture of his hand, the gesture drew attention to his hands, which you previously missed in your once-over, 6 fingers on each side. He decided to postpone the peace offering for now. Didn't seem like the time. Didn't realize I was supposed to be here at a certain time. I'm sorry. Dude, what the heck is up with you? Up with your hands. Are you okay? It's too weird to leave. I'm gonna go with I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You replied, stepping inside the and bristling bustling as he shut the door. It's fine. The words held no assurance. He lingered in front of the door, standing against the frame. Oh, yay, here's Bill. So it must be when he's still in his contract with Bill. A minute passed as he stood, shifting his head side to side, then finally turned towards the door. You heard a series of locks click in place. If you had guessed, at least 5. I was up early. I figured you'd be here earlier. There's a lot to go over. He paused for entirely too long before speaking, exhausted, or not used to talking, or both, or something else entirely. Pretty sure it's something else entirely. If you know my drift. His little boyfriend right here. Oh? What the heck was he talking about? A lot to go over. From what you understood, based on the many assurance your uncle had given you, it was nothing too complicated, just some minor coding work. Had you been right in thinking his desperation was a bit suspicious? Was he hiding something? Well... pretty sure he's hiding his boyfriend. You try not to linger in this train of thought, reminding yourself that your circumstances didn't exactly allow much room for suspicion. Yes, first, if you could remove your shoes. He followed your movements, only speaking up when you started to place them on the minutely odd, triangle-shaped welcome mat. Oh, and bring them with you, of course. Follow me. He walked with purpose, like he was sure you'd follow and not linger. And to his credit, he was right. Walking through the house, it became clearer and clearer that the triangle-shaped welcome mat was just the beginning. Stanford must have had some strange succession with triangles. They were everywhere. Well, here's the mat. We were in the room beforehand. I think these need to be swapped. And, oh, I love this. It's referencing, the Dipper. Everyone. A stained glass windows that cast an unnatural yellow hue across every crack and crevice of the house. Tapestries that layered the walls, patterns, all depicting some strange figure. You swore you could just barely make out the carvings of triangles within the cemented parts of the structure. There's his boyfriend again. Perhaps it was just a eccentric design choice, yet felt like it carried some unseen weight, some abhorrence. Well, seeing that he's a demon, yes. Wait, am I sleeping in the bathtub? Am I Levi from a baby? You were almost thankful to reach the bathroom to escape the sicky yellow light. Suddenly your shoes were tugged out of your grasp. You turned to see Stanford, dosing them in some unknown substance as she stood, shocked in silence. "What are you doing?" "Pixie eggs," he said, with a nonchalance warranted only by average everyday experiences. "I had an infestation a few months ago. It's just a precaution." "Pixie eggs?" he repeated. "Right. Inquire about the pixie eggs. Leave." "I'm gonna inquire about the pixie eggs." Pixies lay eggs?" "Ah, yes, I suppose that's a bit shocking to hear." He spoke with a new sort of favor. "It's quite surprising, given their more mammalian structures. But now we only knew of one other mammalian creatures which lay eggs, platypuses. That being, of course, the I'm not saying the scientific name in layman terms, the platypus. You tilt your head, not really understanding, but listening nevertheless. "Well, I do know it because platypuses lay eggs. And they have a duck beak, so." "And they're called Perry. There's one called Perry the platypus." He stopped at your lack of response. That's when you got a proper look at his eyes, hidden behind the thick layer of his glasses. They were musky brown, like puddles, like the tree bark soaked up rain, almost dough-like. They were somewhat soft, a spark of excitement present in them. "I forgot." He pauses, restarting, his expression slowly turning sour. Philford would have understood. He sounded resentful. You got the feeling that he viewed you as a pretty poor replacement. "Well, I understand. And I didn't go to a biologist or whatever he went for. I went for information." "Well, I'm assuming it's some kind of bug, like fruit flies?" No, just look up Perry the platypus." You offered with a shrug. You recall having an infestation of them in a one-bedroom apartment you stayed in briefly. Nasty little buttholes. "Oh, actually, I would know what a pixie is, too. Shinmigami Tenshin." Pixie's awesome. At least in Shinmigami Tenshin 3. I suppose that's a abduct comparison. Oh, I would know. So, can I summon one as my persona? You half-heartedly affirmed and set your shoes down beneath the sink. You decide to leave them for now. It's late. Come on, I'll show you to your room. Oh, I'm not sleeping here? Okay, good. I thought it was going to be like Levi from a baby with Ivan. Wait, was an exaggeration. It was difficult to tell. DL lighting somewhat distorted your sense of time. However, you could just make out the orangey pink light of sunset peeking through the window. But you were tired. You made a noise of affirmation, deciding an armament wasn't worth your time, as you tried to match his pace up the stairs. "Oh, I'm in, Dipper and Mabel's bedroom. I'll go to bed. I go to bed at 8. Well, you don't have to be sleeping by then. You must." He turns around, standing in front of the door, before pointing one of his pointer fingers direct at you. "Be in your room by that time." "Is it because of your boyfriend?" He finishes opening the attic door with rare dramatic force, revealing a triangle-shaped bedroom with a twin bed in the center, sparsely filled with some necessary furniture, a dresser, a nightstand, and a lamp. You turn back to find a pair of keys dangling in front of your face. "These are yours," he said, as if you couldn't tell. "Make sure you lock the door as well." "Is it because of your boyfriend?" he said in a stern voice as you took the keys from his grasp. Okay." You drew out the word a bit too long, which was apparently the wrong way to respond because you were met with a searing glare. This isn't a joking matter." "Oh, I know. It's your boyfriend. If you go out and don't come back before 8, don't expect to be let in." You cringe, looking around, avoiding his gaze and noticing a rare, pristine bucket in the corner. "Property of... ? That was a sticker. Oh, that had a sticker of a bucket, along with what assumed were words, although you couldn't quite make it out from here. I'm gonna say Stanford or Stanley. He sighed, and he turned back to face him as he began rubbing his palms against his eyes, deciding against asking about the bucket. All right then. You rub your arm, sticking the keys into your pocket. "I understand we got an 8 p.m. curfew?" No. He stamped his feet down, and the sound lingered, deafening among the previous silence in the house. He seemed almost taken back at his own actions, then sighed softly. "It's not just a curfew, okay? It's a safety precaution." His tone was still firm, but more relaxed, softer. "Okay, I need to be home at 8. You confirmed, a bit nervous now at the prospect of another outburst, but equally, if not more so, annoyed with the repetition. Then that is what a curfew is it? And in your room with..." Stanford improvised, gesturing to the door. "Locked. The door secured and locked." "All right, man, I get it." It's like, I understand, because you're your boyfriend. You put your hands up in a mock surrender. "That's the third time you said it. I think I understand. I think I understood the first time." You laugh awkwardly, trying to break some of the tension in the room. Good. Bye. He left the room in a flurry of motion, seemingly frustrated, shutting the door behind him. And that was your fabulous introduction to Stanford Pines. He made sure to lock the door after him. You unpacked your things and put them away, putting on... You unpacked your things and put them away, putting on... Let's go with t-shirt and some shorts, because I don't want to sleep in like this when a possessed Ford might come in the room if we didn't lock it properly. So a t-shirt and some shorts, that way I could run. Putting on a t-shirt and some shorts for PJs. You thought about your time here thus far and frowned, formed an opinion. It was weird, aka negative, intriguing, aka positive, meh, neutral. Well, we're gonna go for a positive route, even though it is technically weird with all the Bill Cipher stuff. Intriguing. It was intriguing. You never met someone like Stanford or heard anything similar to the things discussed today. Considering that that was only the tip of the iceberg, you were quite excited to see where things end up next. Whatever your feelings on the matter, you firmly believed they were going to end up figuring out what the heck was going on here, whether you wanted to or not. Seeing Stanford Pines, his own home, was surprisingly rare occurrence. It seemed that he went out of his way to be in his house as little as possible. Ooh, there's Bill Cipher clock. I wouldn't know people tell what time it is with that. At least that was what you would say if he didn't always acknowledge when he was leaving to grab supplies or to get groceries, which didn't line up with how often he appeared to be absent from the household. It left you to wonder why he felt no need to clarify where he went during the other disappearances. You briefly consider a secret laboratory before laughing off as something that only happens in over-the-top dramas or cartoons. Well, newsflash, we're in the cartoon. So he does have a secret lab. He's like Dexter. And I mean Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. He didn't show you what you were working on. He didn't show you what you were working on. In fact, he didn't discuss the topic at all during your first week here. Not that you were complaining. It let you get somewhat settled here. Falling into some sort of rhythm, not having to bounce from hotel to hotel, and knowing where your next meal was coming from was a blessing. And so was having time to yourself. The only time you saw him that week was the day after you arrived. You come down to finally give him your peace offering, scribbling for Stanford onto the sticky note and pressing it onto the porch, where he couldn't find him, preparing to leave it on the kitchen counter. Then he bumped into him. Literally. Oh, sorry. You apologized, backing off. It was odd. You thought to yourself, sort of expected someone that was so stereotypically mad scientist, for lack of more polite terminology, to be scroungier? Not so sturdy. No, that was a weird thing to say, right? To say, think? About a person, does it matter? It's all in your head. He was just very solid. It's like, if you read romance novels, that's probably the proper way that they describe first people. So, the actual proper way is like, yeah, solid. He didn't acknowledge it, nor acknowledge you, simply moving around to continue what he was doing. You gather your thoughts as he went about doing whatever it was he was doing. You grabbed the coffee grounds off the counter and tapped him on the shoulder. He turned to look at you, seeming a bit annoyed by your continued presence, as if he expected you to simply disappear whenever he entered the room. Here, I was going to leave this on the counter for you. You held it out to him. But I got this for you because I heard you liked coffee. He took in his hand gingerly, bringing it closer to his chest and staring at it with a blank expression. I'm Wyan, by the way. I know we talked over the phone about the project, but I didn't really get a chance to say much yesterday face to face. He paused for a moment, watching as he continued to look down. It's nice to meet you, Stanford. You were starting to wonder if maybe you heard wrong. Aw. He didn't think he would blink since he started staring at the coffee grounds. It was a bit worrying. Maybe he actually really hated coffee, and you just heard wrong. Or maybe it was just a weird gift to give someone you hardly knew. Not really. You could call me Ford, he said, finally, snapping out of whatever stupor he previously found himself in. He turned around, placing the coffee grounds back onto the counter, and continued whatever routine it was you interrupted. A bit rude, but again, you weren't going to complain. This was his house after all. Yeah, but his ex is all around here. If he didn't want to talk, maybe you or his or he is he not the ex now? Is he currently dating for us? Dating Bill. If he didn't want to talk, or thank you for the stupid coffee that he could barely even scrape the money together to buy, that was his right. Even if it did make him a bit of a butthole. The rest of the week was spent peacefully wandering around the house, which held a large number of parts of machines that you knew better than to touch. Touch. I would touch it. That led you to spending some wandering the tree line just outside the front door. You often sit on the steps of the porch looking out into the forest, with only the occasional rustle of some unknown life to break the silence. Inside was just a mysterious with Ford, the man who seemed quite content with remaining strangers occupying the same space. At the very least, you were on a first-name basis. Maybe you were making some progress. It was late into the summer. Heat still clinging to the earth like glue, sticking to your skin like sweat. In the city, the air seemed to have a perpetual chill, so you didn't mind. The heat was welcome change, a smoothing one. I mean, heat for me, that's the norm. I'll take the cold. And then when it's cold, we'll take the heat. Complete opposites. You sat sunning on the beach. The smell of pine needles wafting in the air. The door creaked behind you, snapping you out of your thoughts. You turned to see Ford, who stood there with a sullen expression on his face. His attire remained wholly unchanged from your first meeting, aside from new coffee stains. You briefly stopped to wonder if they were from your grounds. There were dark circles under his eyes, despite his insistence on that not curfew seemed somewhat heavier than before. He looked utterly exhausted, defeated almost. Hi. You managed to give him a waiver, feeling uncomfortable daggers of pity and guilt lodge itself somewhere in your chest. Saying Ford, yeah, we already know what's happening. The feeling churned in your stomach. Maybe you judged him a bit too harshly. Maybe he was just lonely, socially awkward, late 20-something scientist. Oh, so yeah, he's younger. It must have been awkward for him to give you someone to be living with someone he knew next to nothing about. It couldn't hurt to give him another chance at having a normal conversation. Hello. He responded, blinking at you as he didn't expect you to still be there. You turned your gaze back to the yard, soon hearing the telltale creak of the wooden floorboards of the porch as Ford approached. You watched out of the corner of your eye as he settled awkwardly on the same step. Respectable distance away, you sworn he didn't breathe for at least a minute, and he didn't either, afraid of someone somehow scaring him away. Like he's a cat, if he were a wild animal approaching out of curiosity. The same distance you found comfort in earlier because more and more of the settling, because you could feel the unnecessary for a conversation hanging in the air between the two of you. Do you know anything about this place? His words cut through the suffocating silence. I mean, I know it's beautiful. You cried softly, carefully, a bit worried that he would treat at any moment, but also feeling instantly relieved they didn't have to be the one to break the silence. But other than that, no. He shrugged. His face suddenly lit up. It's beautiful. He affirmed with a stiff nod. It also happens to be the center of a massive array of anomalies, which is what I'm conducting my research on. His voice had the most emotion you've heard in all week, a excitable quality to it. You do anything to hear him talking. What kind of anomalies? all sorts. For instance, he did a wide gesture before landing on a subject hidden high up the treetop. You can see that bird? You squint towards where he was pointing before nodding. We noticed a small red woodpecker. It's not a bird at all. In fact, well, it'll be easier to show you. Actually, follow me. He stood, and then you followed, almost involuntarily. The excitement that radiated off him was so infectious and sudden, it was like a switch had been flipped. Okay, what is it then? I only ever captured one before. Captured? That thing must have be down near 20 feet up in the air. And of course, back then, it was just lying on the ground. How was he planning to capture it then? But it should be simple, really. It requires a bit of finesse, a bit of lumberjacks. If lumberjacks could do it, how hard could it be? Memorized, you stood at the base of the tree. As Ford took off his trench coat, wrapping it around the width of the tree, pulling it as he began to effortlessly scale it, like his lawn. That's why I remember that as that lawn. Ford stopped halfway, somehow managing to give you a small wave before he continued his descent. It was no doubt a quick escalation, but a welcome one. He gave a weak wave back, knowing he couldn't see it, taking a few steps backward to get a better look at his position. He was nearly to where the bird was perched, appearing unconcerned with the prospect of it flying off, which was strange, and also begged the question: why hadn't it flown off by now? Was the sick injured? Ford moved to sit on the branch adjacent to the bird before moving his coat from around the tree. Feeling the coat around his hands, he inched closer, leaning against the tree and slowly moving his hands towards the bird, slightly cupped before scooping it up. He turned his head, evidently looking for you, before finding you and tilting the coat towards you, allowing you a better view of the bird. He beamed proudly when you nodded in response. His descent was slower, choosing to go down the branch by branch, as one hand was now occupied by a bird. He was clearly trying his best not to shake the poor creature, even if it was at the expense of his own comfort. He must really care about animals. Once he was near enough to the bottom, he hopped the rest of the way down from the tree. He carefully brought the creature up to his face, examining it. Once he seemed satisfied with his findings, he made his way over to you, holding out to you to look. Ford stayed quiet, clearly anticipating something. You, on the other hand, were struggling to see what made the bird an anomaly, looking for any sign that it was not the perfect, normal animal it appeared to be, and finding none. Okay, what is it? Question mark. You decided to take a closer look, curious at what made the creature in front of you unique. Upon closer inspection, you noticed that the creature's feathers seemed a bit off, almost as if they weren't really feathers. Well, at first glance, they may appear to be regular red-bellied woodpecker. He has sharp teeth. He gently pried apart the bird's beak with his forefinger, revealing a mouthful of row of small, sharp teeth. It's actually very similar to a prehistoric species of birds called Iridactyl. So can we catch it with Pokeball? In fact, many modern birds still hold the chain for tooth growth, which is originally what I thought was up with the little guy. I mean, birds are related to dinosaurs, so... Also, not even Aerodactyls. In general, birds are the descendants of dinosaurs. A genetic mutation of sorts, a fluke of nature. A one-time mistake. He gently rubbed the top of the bird's head with his finger. And then I found many more of his kind. What the heck? That was creepy. Wow, that's so cool. Tell me more. I want to do this. That's so cool. Tell me more. He squinted, unsure of your own eyes. You see, these feathers would be better described as fur that grows in a way that mimics the look of feathers from afar. His fingers slowly drift from behind the creature's neck to the top of its head, ruffling the fur, proving his words to be true. Think of it as the reverse of a penguin situation, where it has feathers that look like fur. He chuckled softly. This little guy falls more towards the Protera family, which bats are classified under. And bats are mammals, so although it's in reality, he would probably be a part of his own newly discovered family. His face flushed a little. That I still haven't decided for a good name for it. Let me name it. They are fascinating little creatures. He smiled, a kind of fondness in his gaze, a certain softness in his voice. I could call them werepeckers, although there's no true connection to werewolves, of course. Can I name it? You nod along, still stuck, staring at the... What did he say? Werepecker? It's certainly interesting. You confirmed with a small smile of your own. How did you, know what it was? And how did you discover these little guys? Due to the structure of their mouths being different, they make a rare, distinctive sound when pecking at wood. I've constructed it with a normal woodpeckers for so long that I could easily tell its difference. He ran his thumb along the little guy's head, chattering silently. And they're remarkably docile compared to regular birds. I found one laying on the forest floor once, and I stumbled upon an injured or dead bird. It was so still and quiet. I hadn't actually heard them make any vocalizations. I'm unsure if they're able to. His voice held a somewhat mystical element to it, as he was trying to drag you back in time to that moment, to have your spirits hit just as he'd had. Anyways, upon closer examination, I found I was dealing with something else entirely. He crouched, and you found yourself following along with him, almost on instinct. Before I let him go, he torn his eyes away from it, finally to look at you, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Would you like to pet him? Ew, why would I want to touch that thing? No. Are you sure it's okay? I would love to. I would love to. 4 chuckles that he refuses them. He slowly moved his hand, containing it towards you, putting it on a more easily accessible position for petting. The size of his teeth suggests that they most likely eat variations of foods, nuts, and insects, which I have yet to observe them eating. It's still relatively safe to assume, based on their docile nature, that they held no true threat to us. You nod your head before reaching your hand out. Then it starts attacking. Still unsure of the best place to pet the woodpecker, you decide to pet it on top of its head with your thumb, as you seemed Ford do previously. You immediately knew why Ford held such a fondness for it. Its fur was soft and warm beneath your finger. You almost didn't want to stop petting it. His smile betrayed his true feelings, as eyes sparked somewhat fierce. You could feel his love for this passion, could understand why his smile crinkled around his eyes. You found a smile forming upon your face, though you still had several questions. It was adorable, yes. But how did it exist? Why? And what possessed the man in front of you to scale a tree just to show you it? Well, if he's a mad scientist, because he's a mad scientist. After you withdraw your hand, he slowly and gently set it upon the ground. He watched at it intently as it hopped over to a sunny spot, where it promptly settled down in the grass. Ford then took a minute to slip back on his trench coat before looking at you with an unreadable expression. So you're studying weird animals, genetic mutations? He asked, recalling the fact that bird teeth he told you as you stood, looking out at the forest that surrounded the cabin. What other weird crap is in there? Not quite. I study anomalies. He collected. But yes, most of that does involve weird animals. I mean, it could just be animals we haven't discovered yet. That is... He copied your phrasing, standing up with some difficulty. And some anomalies do appear to be caused by genetic mutations. I suppose genetic mutations are anomalies in and of themselves. Like his hands. Like I don't think of being. It seemed like the surge of enthusiasm and energy was short-lived. His smile slowly drained away from his face to form a more neutral expression. Cool. The word trembled out of your mouth awkwardly. You stuck your hands in your short pockets, fiddling with your room key, trying to think of something else to say. So, thank you. Ford beats you to it, saving you from saying the first word. You stare at him blankly for a moment before he followed it up with, for the coffee. You're welcome. You're welcome. You applied, slowly, a bit of late thanks, but it was better than nothing. And thank you for you gestured at the little guy, for showing me the, werepecker. It's like, can I name it something else? I type. The two of you just stood there for a moment to relatively comfort silence. Both of you with your hands stuck in your pockets until Ford pulled out a notebook. Journal 2! You looked around, staring back at the forest glen, before looking back at Ford. He was clearly sketching, pausing frequently to stare at the werepecker on the ground. He said he had a lot to go over with me. You cleared your throat. What's this, You gestured vaguely at the werepecker. A part of that? He briefly paused his sketching to give you a confused expression. It was obvious he was trying to recall the conversation. Oh, that. Yes, well, yes, you could consider that part of it, that. He blew on the notebook page, letting the ink settle. Anything else I need to know? I assume now is opportune time to show you what I've been working on while you're here. Can we see the gnomes? Ford carefully tucked both his journal and pen back into the rifle positions. Follow me. He made his way to the cabin, and you followed. That ought to be good. End of demo. Thank you for playing. And that was Muse of Madman. If you like my content, please subscribe right there, help out, and comment down below. I'll see you guys next time.